I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Before we begin, may we request that a circle be walked about this instrument and that then each of the supporting group expel breath forcibly, approximately 2½ feet above the instrument's head, the circle then again being walked about the instrument. This was done as directed. I am Ra. We appreciate your kind cooperation. Please check the alignment of perpendicularity and we will begin. This was done as directed. I am Ra. We communicate now. Question 62.1. Questioner, could you tell me what was wrong or what caused the necessity for the rewalking of the circle and the purpose for the expelling of the breath? Answer, I am Ra. This instrument was under specific psychic attack at the time of the beginning of the working. There was a slight irregularity in the words verbalized by your sound complex vibratory mechanisms in the protective walking of the circle. Into this opening came this entity and began to work upon the instrument, now in trance state, as you would call it. This instrument was being quite adversely affected in physical complex distortions. Thus the circle was properly walked. The breath of righteousness expelled the thought form and the circle again was walked. Question 62.2. Questioner, what was the nature of the thought form or its affiliation? Answer, I am Ra. This thought form was of Orion affiliation. Question 62.3. Questioner, was the attack successful in creating any further distortion in the instrument's physical complex? Answer, I am Ra. This is correct. Question 62.4. Questioner, what is the nature of this distortion? Ra, this thought form sought to put an end to this instrument's incarnation by working with the renal distortions which, although corrected upon time-space, are vulnerable to one which knows the way to separate time-space molding and space-time distortions which are being unmolded, vulnerable as before the, shall we say, healing. Question 62.5. Questioner, what detrimental effect has been done? Answer, I am Ra. There will be some discomfort. However, we were fortunate in that this instrument was very open to us and well tuned. Had we not been able to reach this instrument and instruct you, the instrument's physical vehicle would soon be unviable. Question 62.6. Questioner, will there be any lasting effect from this attack as far as the instrument's physical vehicle is concerned? Answer, I am Ra. This is difficult to say. We are of the opinion that no lasting harm or distortion will occur. The healer was strong and the bonds taking effect and the remolding of these renal distortions were effective. It is at this point a question of two forms of the leavings of what you may call a spell or a magical working, the healer's distortions versus the attempt at Orion distortions, the healer's distortions full of love, the Orion distortions also pure in separation. It seems that all is well except for some possible discomfort which shall be attended if persistent. Question 62.7. Questioner, was the opening that was made in the protective circle planned to be made by the Orion entity? Was it a specific planned attempt to make an opening, or was this just something that happened by accident? Answer, I am Ra. This entity was, as your people put it, looking for a target of opportunity. The missed word was a chance occurrence and not a planned one. We might suggest in the, shall we say, future, as you measure space-time, as you begin a working, be aware that this instrument is likely being watched for any opportunity. Thus, if the circle is walked with some imperfection, it is well to immediately repeat. The expelling of breath is also appropriate, always to the left. Question 62.8. Questioner, would you expand on what you just said on the expelling of the breath? I'm not quite sure of what you mean. Answer, I am Ra. The repetition of that performed well at this working is advisable if the circle is walked in less than the appropriate configuration. Question 62.9. Questioner, but you mentioned the expelling of the breath to the left, I believe. Would you tell me what you meant by that? Answer, I am Ra. It is as you have just accomplished, the breath being sent above the instrument's head from its right side to its left. Question 62.10. Questioner, is there anything that we can do for the instrument after she comes out of the trance to help her recover from this attack? Answer, I am Ra. There is little to be done. You may watch to see if distortions persist and see that the appropriate healers are brought into contact with this mind, body, spirit complex in the event that difficulty persists. It may not. This battle is even now being accomplished. Each may counsel the instrument to continue its work as outlined previously. Question 62.11. Questioner: who would the appropriate healers be, and how would we bring them in contact with the instrument? Answer: I am Ra. There are four. The difficulty being at all noticed is bodily distortion, the one known as name of spiritual healer, and the one known as name of spiritual healer, may work upon the instrument's bodily complex by means of the practices which are developing in each entity. Given persistence of distortion, the one known as name of allopathic healer shall be seen. Given the continued difficulty past the point of one of your cycles called the fortnight, the one known as name of allopathic healer shall be seen. Question 62.12. Questioner: does the instrument know who these people are, name and name? I don't know who they are. Answer: I am Ra. This is correct. Question 62.13. Questioner: is that the sum total of what we can do to aid the instrument? Answer: I am Ra. This is correct. We may note that the harmonies and loving social intercourse which prevails habitually in this group create a favorable environment for each of you to do your work. Question 62.14. Questioner: what priority, shall I say, does the Orion group place on the reduction of effectiveness or elimination of effectiveness of this group with respect to activities on planet Earth at this time? Can you tell me that? Answer: I am Ra. This group, as all positive channels and supporting groups, is a greatly high priority with the Orion group. This instrument's bodily distortions are its most easily unbound or unloosed distortion, dissolving the mind, body, spirit complex. If the Orion group is successful, this particular group, having learned to be without serious chinks, may we say, in mind and spirit complex vibratory patterns. In other channels other chinks may be more in evidence. Question 62.15. Questioner: I'll make this statement and you correct it. The Orion group has an objective of the bringing of the service to self-polarized entities to harvest as great a harvest as possible. This harvest will build their potential or their ability to do work in consciousness as given by the distortion of the law of one called the law of squares or doubling. Is this correct? Answer: I am Ra. This is correct. Question 62.16. Questioner: are there other groups of those who are on the service to self path joined with those of the Orion constellation, for instance those of Southern Cross, presently working for the same type of harvest with respect to Earth? Answer: I am Ra. These you mention of Southern Cross are members of the Orion group. It is not, shall we say, according to understood wording that a group from various galaxies should be named by one. However, those planetary social memory complexes of the so-called Orion constellation have the upper hand and thus rule the other members. You must recall that in negative thinking there is always the pecking order, shall we say, and the power against power in separation.